Okay, again, welcome everyone. I'm glad you could join us. Um, Jordan and I are here to do a brief overview of Canvas, Powerschool, and School Messenger tonight for those of you that need a little refresher on how to access student information and make sure that your student is involved as possible in school and learning. So just some norms for tonight. Everyone is muted during the presentation except for Jordan and I. Their chat is not enabled right now, but I will turn it on at the end of the presentation for questions. So hold your questions till the end. And most of your videos should be turned off. I think that's on by default, but that's mostly to improve quality. Again, we're doing this as a presentation style, and we'll be communicating through the chat later. So your videos are off just to make sure that we get the best quality possible in case we get a big group. So my name is Howie Marshall. I'm the Learning Management System PD coordinator for the district, which is a fancy educational way to say that I'm in charge of training and support for our online learning systems. So obviously because of COVID, we were in a hybrid or remote learning situation so far this year. My job is to help the teachers and students access remote learning programs like Canvas and Zoom. And we've been working really hard to do our best, and we appreciate your patience as families as we all learn to do this together. We also have Jordan here. Jordan, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi all. My name is Jordan Lacasse. I am the Remote Learning and Family Engagement Coordinator for Pittsfield Public Schools. And my main job is just to be a resource for you and your family during a time of virtual learning. And Canvas, Powerschool, and just everything tech-wise is something I can help with. So I'm here just as a resource for you, and so you know another familiar face that can help you and your family with the school right now. So I hope you learned something tonight and have a couple takeaways.
Thank you, Jordan. So our emails are here. We're hoping to answer a lot of your general questions on the presentation tonight. I have our emails again at the end. If you have very specific questions about your student or your situation specifically, we can't answer those on this call tonight, but you should feel free to email either or both of us, and we will make sure to do our best to get you an answer from the right person if it's not us. All right, so tonight we're going to talk briefly about Canvas, which is our remote learning platform. I will introduce some of you to the parent school or the Powerschool parent portal if you have not been there before. We will talk briefly about School Messenger, which is our phone and email alert system, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So Canvas, as I said, is what we call a learning management system, or LMS. It is basically the student's to-do list or activity list. It's where we post all of our assignments and activities that students need to complete. If you've taken a college course, most colleges have been using these systems for a very long time, but it's a way for us to interact with your students while they're at home. And we also anticipate that we will be using it, even if we came back to school full time, we would still be using Canvas to help manage our assignments. And that's where you would go to look for what does your student need to do today to be successful in each class. In most schools, the grades will also be in Canvas. So assignments will be posted and graded in Canvas. That's not the case at some of our standards-based schools, which I will talk about in a little bit. But for most students, you should see assignment grades in Canvas. So very important for students, Canvas is accessed through Clever. So if they go to clever.com and log in by signing in with Gmail, their school email account, all access to Canvas is through Clever. They do not have a username and password. They cannot go directly to Canvas. And all students begin at the dashboard. So when they get to Clever, they click on this little red Canvas LMS icon, and it will take them to the dashboard, which looks like this. Yours may look slightly different. Obviously, it's going to be customized for each student. There's a few different view choices that I will talk about momentarily, but this is the standard view of the dashboard. So you can see on the left here, we have the global navigation bar. So students can always return to their dashboard. They can get a view of all of their courses. They can see a calendar, their messaging inbox, history. You can get help here, both from Canvas and directly from us. If you submit a report to Canvas, it actually goes to our technology department as well. And then at the top, there's their account links, which there's a few things in there that we'll talk about in a few minutes. In the center of their dashboard are what we call the tiles. And there's one tile for each course that the student is enrolled in. You may also see other tiles depending on their grade level or activities. For example, if they receive speech or occupational therapy services, they may have a tile for that service. If they're in high school, they may have a grade level group that the school uses to communicate and push out messaging and alerts. But essentially each tile represents a course. So you can see the student here is enrolled in a 3rd grade music class, a 3rd grade art class, English expressions with Miss Stannard, a homeroom with Miss Stannard, and there's more down below if I were to continue scrolling. On the right, we have our to-do list. So this is where the student, any new assignment would be posted here. The student can either go through the course to get to the assignment, or they can click right on this to take them right to it. We do encourage students to go into the course to make sure that the assignment is something they should be doing on their own. Obviously, the situation we're in right now, it's a really fine line between what's schoolwork and what's homework. So teachers may be assigning things that are to be done in class. So if you were to go into a class, the teacher would have explicitly told you either on the homepage or in a module or somewhere that is linked very clearly, what are the expectations for today or this week? And if not, you can always message the teacher, or if you click on the assignment and open it, they may have listed there too the expectations for that assignment. If it's something that the student has completed and they've submitted it, it should go away from this list automatically. It should be marked as complete. Now, a lot of our elementary students are using outside programs for English, math, and science, and maybe some others. And so this assignment might be more of a to-do that they're not actually completing within Canvas. It may say, for example, go to Clever, click on Into Reading, and complete chapter 3, right? So for example, Canvas doesn't know that they've done that. You can click right on this X to mark that assignment as complete, and it will no longer show up on the to-do list. You can use that as a checklist. Okay, and again, unfortunately I can't get more specific. It does tend to vary by grade level and subject. Some assignments will require the student to complete an activity on Canvas, like to type in words and submit a writing or attach a file. Others may say go to another program and complete it there. Finally, up here at the top, there's this 3 dots that is a menu in Canvas. Wherever you see the 3 dots, that is a menu. If you were to open that, there's a few different views for Canvas. This is what's called the card view. We call them tiles. Canvas calls them cards. So if your Canvas does not look like this, and I get a lot of emails from students or parents who are confused that they can't see their courses the same way, you can click up here and return back to card view. There's a couple others. For example, agenda view, which shows more of a calendar page, but it does make it a little harder to get to your classes when it's time to go to a live class. And if you were to go into a class, you will see your main navigation will remain here on the left. Those links don't change. You will see a new navigation in blue that I have highlighted here. That will be slightly different for each course. Every teacher, of course, has enabled different features. This course includes modules, which are sort of like units. It tells you what needs to be done. There's the link to the teacher's Zoom. This teacher is using the discussions feature. I can see my course grades here, and I can also see people that are enrolled in the course. Now, those will be different for each class, depending on what features the teacher has using or has enabled on the menu. Generally, older students will see more options as teachers are going a little bit more in depth with Canvas. Younger students will see fewer options and will rely mostly on buttons or images on this main page to help navigate to different features of Canvas. Okay. Now, to create a parent account in Canvas so that you can see your students and access their information, there's a 2-step process. First, in the student account, and this is best done if you have access, if the student can do it on their Chromebook, that is the best option. They go to account, which is that button on the upper left. It'll probably have their picture or some image or their initials on it. They click on settings, And then on the settings page, there's a button that says pair with observer. When you click that button, it will give you a one-time code that is only good for a short period. So I get a lot of emails from parents who say that I received a code and the code did not work. Well, if another family member has used that code, it will no longer work. If the code was created more than a few days ago, it may not work. So when you're ready to do this, you want to generate a new code and write down that code. It's usually a six numbers or letters, and usually all capitalized, and that is important. It is case sensitive. Once you have that code, preferably on a different computer, so on your own device, you're going to go to the website pittsfield.instructure.com. You're going to click, there's a button on the login page that says click to create an account for parent login. And it comes up with a very simple form that asks for your email address, your name, a password, and a student access code. So you type in the code, you have created a Canvas account attached to that student. Now, once you've created an account, you only have to do that one time. So once you have a parent account and you can log into Canvas, in your account settings, you have the option to add additional children. So if you have more children in the Pittsfield Public Schools, you can log into Canvas after attaching yourself to the first child. You can go to your settings and say, add, I forget what it is, add a student perhaps, or add an observee. And you type in a code from that second child. So again, you'd go into the student account, you get a pairing code, you go into your account and say pair with a student, and it will access so that you can then see all students' information on your Canvas page together. Okay. Now that was a lot of instructions. It's a multi-step process. So if you go to pittsfield.net, we have a button right on the front page that says remote and hybrid learning. It looks just like this. On that page, we have everything we've published about remote instruction. Schedules are there, updates are there, messages from the superintendent, anything that I've sent out to families, all of that is posted there. If you're having trouble with a Chromebook or need tech support, there's a link to that. Most of that is going to be under more and then technology tools at home. And I will actually give you a quick tour of that website before we leave tonight. But it does have a lot of useful resources and ways that you can get support and information about remote instruction all in one place. Okay. I want to clarify one more time that students have to access Canvas through Clever. So all students will go to clever.com, log in with their school email address, and then click on the button to go right into Canvas. If you are a parent or a family member or a guardian, you can go directly to the Canvas website at pittsfield.instructure.com, and you will have created your own email address and password to access the parent or guardian family version of Canvas. Okay, again, that is on the instructions that I will show you where those are located at the end of this meeting. If you'd like to use the mobile app, so Canvas has an app for parents and an app for students. First, of course, make sure you download the correct one. So if you're going to be accessing as a student, you must use the student app. If you want to access as a parent or guardian, I don't like they use parent only. In Pittsfield, we say guardian because obviously there are a lot of family members who care for students who are not parents necessarily, a lot of grandparents, step parents, etc. So you download the correct Canvas app. You must log in from a computer the first time. So you log in on your device or on your student's device. And again, under the account, you can see a button here that says QR for mobile login. That will display a code on your screen that you scan with the app, and it will log you in for the first time. After that, you should stay logged in. But the first time you must access through a computer. You're going to open up that QR code for mobile login. And when you scan it, it will log you in. Okay, let's review Powerschool. So Powerschool is what we call our student information system. It is where all of the information about our students is held. All grades, their records, demographics, parent guardian information, address, all of that is housed in Powerschool. And it is where parents have access to student grades and attendance primarily. So our login is pittsfieldschools.powerschool.com. And if you do not already have an account, you will need an access code from us. You can get that by emailing parentaccountrequest@pittsfield.net. Again, I've included that email at the end of this presentation if you can't write it down right now, but it's parentaccountrequest@pittsfield.net. Okay. Once you do that, you can go to the website, then you create your own account. You can see right here on the homepage, there's a button that says create account. You put in your email, you choose a password, you put in the code that gives you access to your student, and then you can log into PowerSchool, and I'll show you some examples of what you might see. Now, for our traditionally graded schools, except for students that are enrolled in Virtual Academy, I know that's complicated. So for most of our schools, unless your student is enrolled in the Virtual Academy, PowerSchool is going to look like this. If you have multiple students, their names will be up here on the left, and you can click to see information about each student. They will have their class schedule in the center, their grades here by quarter, and their final grade so far. And you can click on any of those grades to get a detailed list of their assignments, the grades per assignment, what's missing, any teacher comments or notes, etc. You can also see the attendance codes are here. So you can see if they are, for example, remote present, remote absent, whatever the case may be. This is PowerSchool Parent. If you're curious and you want to go back, you can click on the absence number. So 3 absences. If I were to click on this, it would give me the specific days that my student was marked absent for this class. So, if you're keeping tabs on your student, you want to make sure they're attending when you're not home. You can keep up on that here by clicking on the absence number, and it will give you their information. I do want to say right now that PowerSchool is generally 1 day behind Canvas. So if your student has turned in some work that's been graded and they say it was graded in Canvas, PowerSchool won't know that until the next day. In most cases, it syncs one time overnight. And so you may see a slight delay, especially as we get to the end of a quarter or a trimester, as grades wrap up. There may be a day delay before they get to PowerSchool. Now, if your student is enrolled in our Virtual Academy, it's a little bit more complicated because our Virtual Academy is not actually a separate school. It is a program run that has collected teachers and students from multiple schools to teach them only virtually. And so, for example, the student may look like they're enrolled in multiple schools because it's based on where their teacher's homeschool is. So in this example, this student has an art teacher and a math teacher who are from Herberg. And so if I click on the Herberg tab, I will see those grades. If I were to click on Crosby, I would see other classes for a teacher that came from Crosby. It's a little bit complicated, but we're doing the best we can with the technology we have at this time. And so those students look like they're enrolled in multiple schools. Don't worry about that long term. Their records are all kept fine. We've worked through all of that. But on the display side, when you're looking at it, you may see multiple schools. And then finally, if you have a student at Allendale, Capeless, Morningside, or Williams, those schools are in our standards-based pilot, which you might recognize me because I also coordinate the standards-based grading pilot and the report card. For those schools, there's actually a tab here called Standards Grades. And so when you click on that by course, you will see all of the standards that they are graded on and their performance so far. An M for mastery, meaning they've met the standard, a P for making progress, and an N for they've not yet met that standard. Okay, so again, you can expand the course name and see all of the standards. Those schools do not have a final grade. So you will not see, for example, a grade for English. You will see a grade for each of the skills under English that they will complete, hopefully by the end of the year. And I have many separate presentations about that. And I'd be happy to answer those questions by email if you have those, and I can direct you to resources if you're unfamiliar with that. And then finally, in those same schools, the standards-based schools, under homeroom, you will see behaviors listed. There are, now I can't remember if it's 10 or 12 behaviors that are used. Those are simply graded 1 through 4, meaning 4 is the student regularly demonstrates that behavior. 3 means they usually do. 2 means they sometimes do. And 1 means that the teacher did not have evidence of that behavior, whoops, excuse me, at the time that they graded. Okay. In your traditional schools, you can also click on the left here. There's a few menu options. Not all of these are fully in use. So for example, school bulletin, we do not publish those through Powerschool. But if you do click on teacher comments, you should see final comments for each quarter that would be on the report card under the teacher comments tab. Okay. And finally, I want to talk about School Messenger, which is again, the way that we reach out to families through phone and email. Most of this happens automatically, but we do want you to be aware that if you use the School Messenger app that is available on, most platforms, Android, Apple, etc., you have a little bit more control of how we reach out to you and how you receive information. So we use School Messenger to communicate to all families. It does allow you to update your preferences. You cannot change your email address or phone number through the app. Those come from Powerschool. You'd have to contact the school in order to update your contact information. But when you log in using your email or phone number that is attached to Powerschool, it will automatically enroll you into the right messaging. So this is a screenshot from a recent page. You can see here are the daily updates from the superintendent that I have received. I could click on any of those updates to see the message or a link to the recording or whatever he has provided. The nice thing about this is that under preferences, you can control what messages you receive and how. So we get messages from a lot of parents. Obviously, we are communicating as much as we can right now because of remote instruction and the way that things change from day to day and week to week. Some parents have told us they feel overwhelmed by that, and I totally understand that. Everything is overwhelming right now. You can determine what messages you receive and how. So for example, this is my account. As you can see, I'm logged in with my email address. I did hide my phone number. For a school hours emergency, I have said, contact me by phone, message, and email. So if I had a child at school and something happened during the day that was an emergency, there was a fire alarm at the school and the students have to go home, something like that, I want to know through all ways. Call me, text me, email me, do all of the things. But I can control other things. So for example, attendance. To me, that's not an emergency. If an attendance call goes out every day, I know my student is either at school or not. So I have that going to email where I will get it. Not an issue for me. If you have a student that you feel you need to keep tabs on, of course, you can say text me or call me or all three, and you would know right away that your student was not attending. We also have general messages, surveys, non-school hours, etc., and you can set your preferences for each of those separately. So you can see for most things, I only get it by email. If it's not an emergency, I don't need the ding on my phone, the phone call a minute later, the email, I don't need all that. So you have control over that in the messaging app. Again, it's called School Messenger. And you can see on the previous one, the app icon looks like this. I'm not sure how I would describe that. Some sort of maybe a Celtic knot, I don't know. Okay, real quick before we get to questions, I did say that I would show you briefly I'm sorry, I'm going to lean forward because I'm on multiple devices here trying to manage us here. Okay, so I went to this is the Pittsfield.net website, pittsfield.net. Again, we have tons of information here. Oh, look at that. There's a link to download the School Messenger app. How convenient is that? And you can see the first button over here is for remote and hybrid learning. When I click on that, this is, as I said, everything we have posted about remote instruction. There's food service plans, the rotation day calendar. There's some recordings here and press releases. I can also, I can see there's additional information here about our COVID response plan, school handbooks, the school calendar, information about the virtual academy, schedules for each level. And like I said, most importantly, from my perspective, is the technology at home. So under here, there's information about the school messenger app, your Chromebook at home. This is where you would, for example, if you have an issue with your Chromebook, you can fill out a form here that goes directly to the technology department. They will get back to you to communicate what you need to do. I can also click right on technology at home, and you can see that we have information here about Zoom, about Canvas. If I click here on Canvas, these are the instructions I promised on how to access. Actually, this is a recording of the spring one, I forget. And these are your how to access Canvas. So we've posted all of this information for you here. And much, much more. So I'm not going to take you to each page. We just want you to be aware that you can go to pittsfield.net, click on remote learning, and you will see we have provided as much information as we can. And if anything is missing, please let us know so we can get it up there as soon as possible. With that, I am going to go ahead and enable the chat. I will remind you that if your question is very specific to your child or your account, I can't answer those now. So please, I'd rather have those by email where I can respond to you tomorrow if I can. But if you have a general question about Canvas, Powerschool, School Messenger, or anything else I might be able to answer, or Jordan might be able to answer, we are happy to take those questions now. And I'll stay on as long as I need to. So again, you can click on chat at the bottom of the Zoom window and type those into the chat, and we will see those. So I have a question about replacing a Chromebook. Really the quickest is the only way. If you go to pittsfield.net, click on remote learning, and under technology, go to the Chromebook tab. There is a form to fill out that needs to be filled out in the student's account. So log into your student's email address. That form goes to technology, and they respond to those pretty quickly. We have someone at Mercer in the school administration building who is helping exchange Chromebooks every day. Parents come to the building, they call that number, we swap out the Chromebook as fast as we can. Yes, multiple parents can have observer accounts. In fact, anyone that's provided a code can be an observer. It could be an older sibling, a grandparent, a daycare provider. They just have to be given an access code, and they would create their own account. As I said, each access code only works one time, and you can only have a certain number though. So don't write down a code and give it to everybody. It will only work for the first person. And you can't create, 8 codes and hand them out at one time. You need to create a code, use it to create an account, then create a new code and give that to the next person. But yes, multiple people can observe the same student, not a problem. You have a lot of messages in Messenger. Yes. I don't know if you can delete them. I believe I can mark them as read. I can quickly look in my own account. I tend to actually not open the app, to be honest. I get the text and I don't really open the app, but I'm just gonna look to see. I don't know that I can delete them. No, I can only mark them as read. Yes, every grade uses Powerschool. So regardless, like I said, teachers using Canvas in different ways at different grade levels. It's a little bit simpler at the lower grades, but because Powerschool is where all of our student information lives, every teacher must use Powerschool. They may not be posting every assignment depending on the, if you have like a student taking art at 2nd grade, they're probably not grading every art assignment. They'll go in at the end of each grading period and put in a grade. But our grades for the report card have to be in Powerschool, and those are also our information, in Powerschool is reported to the state regularly. And so that is where PowerSchool is the #1 place where student information must live. Canvas is more accurate day to day, but by the time we get to a report card, PowerSchool must be updated by every teacher for every student. Okay. If you don't have any questions, thank you for coming. You're free to hop off, as if I could keep you here, but very happy to help you out. Again, our email addresses are there, so if you have a problem primarily related to technology, access, passwords and things, you can email me, H. Marshall. If you have a more general question in a way that you can be supported with remote learning, you need help finding lunch menus or places to pick up food, you need help getting in contact with a school administrator, or you think your child might need some extra services, Jordan can kind of help get you to the right person in the district for that. And then if you need an account for PowerSchool, that one very specific request, if you cannot get into PowerSchool, it's parent account request at pittsfield.net. It may take Karen some time to get back to you, but she is monitoring those, and she's been pretty responsive when I've emailed her about those. So the parent account in PowerSchool, it doesn't give you more information. The benefit to that is that you have your own login, so you don't need a crazy student password. You log in with your own email address and password, which might be easier to remember. And if you have multiple students, it's the only way to see everything together. Parent account can have multiple students, and so you can see all of your students in one place. And I'm sorry, Jessica, I'm not sure if I understand the first part of your question. Denise, I'm not sure about that, actually, about receiving grades through PowerSchool. I don't know if that's a feature that is still working after we changed this summer to a different version of PowerSchool. I'd have to check on that to see if that's something that happened for everybody or just for you. You may need the app, though, in order to get those notifications. I don't know that you can be notified. I'd have to look into that. And again, if you email me, I can get back to you. Actually, I know I have emails from you, so I can think to respond to that. We do try to provide as much as we can in Spanish. We can send trainings like this, often go to a translator. We can try to get a transcript. Unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish, so I can't do it in Spanish, but we can try to provide at least some resources and documentation in Spanish. And actually, we recently updated the remote learning website so that almost everything is also available in Spanish. So we are doing our best. And if there's anything that you think would be helpful, please let us know, and we will do our best to get that translated for people. And Jessica, separate absences between live versus Zoom. No, so an absence is from a scheduled class. So if your class was in person and you weren't there, that is an absence. If your class was remote on Zoom and you were absent, that is an absence. They're coded differently. So you could see in on my example, there were lots of codes, and I'm sorry that I don't remember them offhand. But for example, we have, I'm just going to jump back a little bit here. So the RP on this one is remote present, meaning that the class was online and the student was there. These other ones, I'm sorry, I don't remember all the codes. I'd have to look them up. Remote present, remote tardy are pretty straightforward. The AS, I'd have to think about that one for a minute. The codes don't always make sense. They are sometimes random. This one, remote absent excused, means that there was a reason the student wasn't in school and was excused from that class. Okay, I don't think I'm seeing any more questions. So again, thank you all for coming. I love doing these nights. I wish we could be a little bit more interactive, but it's hard with a big crowd. I would like to start doing a little bit more like office hours. And I hope, Jordan, maybe you'll join me with some of those if we do office hours every once in a while. They're like one-on-one support. But thank you all for coming.
Howie, there is one more question. Someone just put
Oh.
it in the chat. I don't know if you want to answer that.
In terms of that specific one, I'm not sure. There are, that I would not be able to answer that specifically. You could email either the teacher directly, or if you felt you needed to, you could email the principal about that one. I know our classes are not all, they might not be live so there's a scheduled time for the online course. The teacher is supposed to be available all of that time, but the students might be working independently during that time. So they may give an assignment and then send the students off to work on that. But that, I don't know if I can answer that specifically. Eden, Class Dojo, actually, there's nothing wrong with Class Dojo. A lot of our elementary teachers love it. The main concern we have is that parents are getting information from multiple places, and we want to make sure that people are getting all the information they need and not missing something important. So we want to make sure that that information is being filtered through the channels we already have, like Powerschool or Canvas. But yes, our teachers love Class Dojo. So yes, that's the reason they aren't supposed to be using it, is so that parents are not getting information outside of the regular school channels. We want information filtered through the same place, like Powerschool. And by filtering it through an outside website, the schools don't have control over those accounts. We have no way to manage that. And then parents are getting information from multiple places rather than everything being centralized.